On 29 December 2022, a dark cloud descended upon Brazil and the world. It enveloped everyone. Most people remember vividly where they were and what they were doing. It marked the end of an era in physical terms of the greatest football icon to grace the world. It was the death of Pele, the Brazilian football player, the soccer ambassador, the sports ambassador, the man who had made the world laugh, the man who had made the world what it was in terms of soccer and sports in general. It was a loss to the world that was too great to endure. Tears were awash, hearts were broken, and the grief was immeasurable. As the reality sank into both young and old, men and women, athletes and administrators, politicians, and indeed the ordinary person, the weeping was open. The grief was indescribable. It was a hard blow to say goodbye to a hero, to an icon, to a legend, to a man with a smile that indicated confidence. As we mourn this great man, we go back in time, way back in time, to the dusty streets of Brazil, South America, to trace where it all began, where Pele was born. Born Edson Arantes do Nascimento, the popular legend was well known as Pele. He was born on 23 October 1940 in Brazil and died on the 29th of December 2022 at Albert Einstein Israelite Hospital in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He is said to have married 3 times and has several children. Pele's fame was for wearing the number 10 jersey for both his clubs and his country. He played for clubs such as Santos, one of the biggest soccer clubs in Brazil, and the New York Cosmos in the United States of America. Soccer commentators and analysts have said that Brazil is synonymous with the term the beautiful game. The Samba Boys, as they are popularly known, dance and they continue to dance, captivating audiences on the regional and world stage. Pele was part of the Samba Boys. Pele contributed greatly to the fame of the South American giants. He is said to have grown up in poverty in Brazil. This inspired the legend to greater heights. His family worked as servants in a tea store during his childhood. That did not impede young Pele. His father, a former footballer, taught him all that he learned. This was the beginning of the molding of a legend and a charismatic figure for years to come. He interacted well with players who came after him, including Diego Maradona and other soccer greats in the world. Pele was also a good musician, an actor, and he rubbed shoulders with some of Hollywood's greatest actors like Sylvester Stallone when he was in the United States of America. He was indeed a man of many talents. What is the significance of Pele? The name Pele conjures images of a man who mesmerized the world through his goal-scoring antics, his pace, his balance, his dribbling skills. One would say it is significant that Pele dies after the World Cup in Qatar. He had been battling cancer for some time. As we trace his journey today, his downs, his ups, his achievements, the highlights of his career, the legacy he has left, we mourn and celebrate the life of a great man. He has been seen as the greatest footballer of all time. Even after hanging his boots when his playing days were over, even in his death, he remains the most famous soccer player. He won the World Cup a record 3 times with Brazil in 1958, 1962, and 1970. That is a phenomenal achievement. He started playing for Brazil in 1957 when he was only 16. He scored a hat-trick in the 1958 semi-final against France and 2 against Sweden in the championship game. That is the great Pele. In Brazil, Pele is considered a national treasure. He was named after Thomas Edison, a famous scientist, but got the nickname as a child and he used to dislike it. But that is the name which stuck. And that is the name he has been known by since then. To the millions of fans throughout the world, he will always be Pele. As a young boy, Pele worked as a waiter in a local tea shop. He then signed for Santos at the age of 15. And as a youth, he had played in indoor leagues. At a tender age of 16, he was the top goal scorer in the Brazilian league. This is what made him receive the call to the Brazilian squad. His star was beginning to shine. His dreams were turning into reality. He was declared a national treasure by the Brazilian president so that other clubs would not claim him, other clubs would not sign him. That is how important an asset he was to Brazil. Statistics indicate that he scored over 1,000 goals in professional matches. The legendary Pele had one of the highest strike rates in international games. He then retired from soccer in 1977. At one time, Pele was investigated for supposedly supporting left-wing political prisoners. That did not dent his image. He remained a people's person. After his retirement from active soccer, he became an ambassador for football and sport in general. He was also appointed UN ambassador for ecology and environment in 1992. Furthermore, he was appointed the UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador. This shows how important this man was, not to Brazil, not to South America, but to the world. He was an asset to humanity. As the world celebrates his illustrious life, we acknowledge that he was one of the most talented athletes the world has ever seen. To cap it all, he was a good human being. He had good manners. He used all he knew for the betterment of others. He was a selfless individual. The people's love for him stemmed from the fact that he never used his talents, his many talents, to do harm to fellow human beings. He truly deserves a eulogy in the best kind. Rest in peace, King of Football. Your skills will continue to inspire young players to emulate you. Getting into your boots will be tall order. Depth has dealt us a huge blow. The football world will never be the same without the smiling Pele. In September 2021, Edson Nascimento, popularly known as Pele, was diagnosed with colon cancer. He battled the disease since then, but his family was close to him. During Christmas, his daughter Kelly Christina posted on Instagram an emotional tribute to her father and the world's greatest. It was a heart-rending moment. Readers throughout the world had teary eyes. Time flies, but happy moments are eternal, she wrote. Indeed, our happy moments with him will last forever. We are close to him. We were close to him in life. We are close to him after his death. He will not go away. The family cancelled Christmas, and some people cancelled Christmas with them. They remembered Pele. They prayed for him as he battled cancer. The family had to cancel Christmas dinner. Family had to cancel Christmas gathering in order to be close to him. His health was deteriorating. The private burial of Pele on 3 January 2023 was a momentous occasion. Although only family could attend, it was preceded by wild scenes on the streets of Brazil and at the various stadia as they saw for the last time the casket carrying the great man Edson Arantes do Nascimento. So the 3rd of January 2023 is a landmark of the Nascimento family, the burial of their beloved son. The Memoria Necropole Ecumenical Cemetery in Santos will be a special place in the history of Brazil and in the history of the world. One of the greatest men in the history of Brazil, the history of soccer, in the history of football in the world. The funeral procession of Pele was characterized by wild scenes. The people were sad. Some cried openly. People wanted to see the casket taking the man to his last resting place. In Santos, Brazil, one Claudio Caranca said of Pele, "I never saw him play, but loving Pele is a tradition that goes from father to son in Santos. I learned his history, I saw his goals, and I see how Santos FC is important because he is important." End of quote. This quotation sums it all. Pele was universally loved. The world is at a standstill. Homes, communities, workplace, and streets come to a standstill as they bid farewell to the man who made the world smile, the man whose skills dazzled many, the man whose skills still dazzle us as we celebrate his life. The sight of his casket led to wild scenes of mourning on the streets of Santos. One young person said, "He is the greatest person in the world," as the casket passed into the Vila Belmiro Stadium. This is the mood in Brazil. This is the mood in the world. We mourn with the Brazilian. We mourn with the Nascimento family. We mourn with the world. We will miss this great icon. Pele's era might have come to an end, but his his deeds, his skills, his smiles, his humanity will live with us forever. He is in every player's mind. He is in every home. He is in every community. He is in every continent. He is in the world. That is Pele, a product of humanity. Pele was outlived by his 100-year-old mother. He was buried in a private ceremony at Memorial Necropole Ecumenica, a vertical cemetery in Santos, Brazil. The vertical cemetery will be a subject of careful scrutiny, interest, and special value for the world, for Brazil, for years to come. Pele was an emotional man. He expressed his emotions in soccer, in music, in acting, and in his general interaction with people. He smiled, he laughed, he hugged people, he shared special moments, and he cried. That was Edson Arantes do Nascimento. He was the great Pele, a young man brought out of simple and humble beginnings in Brazil, who rose to fame and captivated the world with what he did on the pitch, what he did after, and what he did in every day. He will be sadly missed. Rest in peace, the great one. Rest in peace, the king of football.
To be honest, my father. No, my father was my teacher. Of course, it was when I was young, and then he gave me all the instruction. He used to teach me, to encourage me. Then, no doubt, my father.
Well, okay, let's talk about today. Who is the best player today?
Today, I think it's no doubt is Messi.
And could he eventually be one of the best players of all time?
Yeah, he is the one who has chance to be. But if you think maybe in Europe, to talk about Europe, some years ago, you have a lot of players in the same style like Beckenbauer was fantastic player. We have Di Stefano, who was Argentine, who played in Real Madrid. From Argentina, we have Maradona. But in this moment, I think Messi is the best.
We have the World Cup 2014 here in Brazil coming up. Who would you like to see playing in Maracanã, the final game?
Listen, if I was God...
And some people say you are.
I was... give the chance to Brazil play against Uruguay.
To relive 1950.
I think it's a good opportunity to do revanche against Uruguay.
To get revenge?
Exactly.
So who do you think would win?
That time, I hope Brazil wins.
Do you think the World Cup in Brazil will be a success? Will Brazil pull it off?
No doubt. We had some little problem before. In the Confederation Cup, we have a little problem. But this will be, in the past. Okay. No doubt the World Cup here will be a fantastic show.
Where does the name Pele come from?
When I was 8 years old, a little boy in the street, he called me Pele.
What does Pele mean?
For me, that time was ugly, because I got mad with him. I said, hey, my name is Edson, how you call Pele? What mean Pele? Everybody started to laugh. I just remember a fight with him. I was in school, I got 3 days suspended because he called Pele. I said, hey, my name is Edson, this ugly name I don't like. Then now I have to accept.